Australian music industry is still reeling following the untimely passing of the man regularly described as the father of Australian rock and roll, Michael Gudinski, who founded Mushroom Records in the late 1970s and continued to drive Australian music to a national and global audience for half a century.
With a legacy well beyond measure. Joining us now is someone who knew him very well, our own entertainment editor, Richard Wilkins. Dickie, I'm so sorry, first of all. I know how well you knew Michael and loved him. Like so many, I'm sure it's all still sinking in.
Everybody knew him, everybody loved him. Yeah, look, he's been remembered as an absolute pioneer, as you said in your intro, just a passionate advocate for Australian music, a lover of music. You know, he loved the business side of it all, but he was just a force of nature. Nothing was going to stop him. The artists that he worked with, I mean, it's probably easier to list the Aussie acts that he didn't work with in one way or another, but, you know, from Skyhooks in the early days, he sailed pretty close to the wind in the early days, and it was Skyhooks who really, I think, in many ways saved and rescued the company financially, because that was a big hit living in the 70s and enabled him to record so many other acts. Then in the 80s, Split Ends, I Got You, man, huge hit. Neil Finn, you know, writes a new song for his brother's band and boom, Split Ends are one of the hottest acts in the world. Then of course Kylie, you know, he signed Kylie, the young lass from Neighbours, and said, hey, sing this song. She sang at the Neighbours Christmas party. I think Gudinski said we should put something out. Boom, that was a hit. Go to London, go and see these blokes Stock Aitken and Waterman, see what happens over there. A Girl Should Be So Lucky, it was fantastic. And Jimmy Barnes, of course, out of Cold Chisel. And Gudinski, to this very day, has been at Jimmy's side through good times and bad, more good than bad. But, you know, Michael, to have Michael in your corner, as Jimmy and countless others have, is just to have the right person looking after you. And Hunters and Collectors, Kate Ceberano, mainly Melbourne acts. You know, he was just a Melbourne boy. He said to me many times, he said, you know what, you can take the boy out of Melbourne, but you can never take the boy out of me. He just loved it.
He put the Aussie industry on the map, but he also brought massive hits to our shores.
He did, yeah. Well, he and Michael Chugg in the early days, you know, when the new wave of emerging acts like the Police, etc., and Squeeze, I think they were the first two acts they brought out. How hard can it be to tour international acts? So that's what they did, and Michael was also smart enough to Taylor Swift, of course. He was smart enough to sign publishing deals with a lot of these acts for this region. And so if the tour didn't work out, then the publishing deal might come good down the track. Just smart. He said he didn't do so well at HSC, but he certainly learnt on the job. Look, speaking of Michael Chugg, I couldn't really... everybody's got a Gudinski story to tell, but Michael Chugg knew him better than anybody, certainly in a business sense. And Chuggy joins us this morning. Michael, thank you for coming on the show. So sad times, mate. A lot of people were ringing a lot of people last night. Did you get much sleep?
I actually went to bed early because I knew, you know, I had to do all this TV this morning. So I was very, what's the word?
Prepared. Structured.
And disciplined.
Well, there's a first time for everything, Michael. Hey, you and Gudinski were brothers in arms.
Brother.
You were brothers in arms. Give us a snapshot of what he was like to work with, because you did work together so well.
Well, he was a whirlwind, and, you know, it sort of became well known that if I was out of order, he could pull me up, and if he was out of order, I could pull him up, and that worked pretty well for a long, long time. 52 years, really, we've been together as friends and partners and even opponents at different times. But, you know, the funny story talking about publishing was that we were at a Premier Artists meeting in 1978, and I just got back from England, and he'd just got back from England, and Paul Daney, who I was working with at the time, didn't want to do all the new wave stuff, and I said to Gudinski, we should start a touring company. He said, we are. I've got the name off Ian Copeland in New York. We're going to call it Frontier. And I said, now all we've got to do is get the acts. And he opened that big old brown briefcase he had, and he had all the publishing contracts for the Police, the Squeeze, Reckless Eric, Madness, and on it went.
Yeah.
And away we went.
Away you went.
Unbelievable.
Indeed. Can you imagine? I mean, it's impossible to imagine an Australian music industry with all its layers that he was involved with, without Michael Gudinski in it, just welding it all together.
It's going to be tough, Richard. I mean, you know, he was just a lunatic. The love of the music and what he did for this country, for our music, since COVID began, has been amazing. He pulled money out of his own pocket. He kept all his staff on. He created music from the home front in 3 weeks, and it's like, oh, here we go again. And, you know, the sound and everything, and it was all CD-pan stuff, but it was so exciting to be part of his life and be a small part of what was going on with him. And it was incredible, the things we created together. And, you know, sitting here for the last 24 hours thinking about things and watching the thousands of emails and texts and phone calls I've received from overseas is just, it's mind-blowing, Richard, what he meant. And you know, hopefully what's happened in the last 12 months and now with his passing, the Australian industry as a whole has come a long, long way, and hopefully all the young ones and everybody are going to be inspired by all this, and we'll keep moving forward, onward and upward. I mean, if 1920 COVID hadn't have happened, it was going to be the year of Australian music overseas. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And I know when everything gets back to normal, it will be Australian music to the world, and it's very sad that he's not going to be here to see it.
Well, you will. He has laid the platform for a great, strong, wonderful industry, Michael. And we thank you for your kind words today and elsewhere. I'm sure there'll be a big send-off when the time's right. Michael Chug, thank you very much, as we remember the late, great Michael Gudinski.
Love to his family. I mean, there are some people you think are going to live forever.
Yeah, well, he was one of them.
Yeah. And just one quick one. I was on a flight from Melbourne to Sydney a couple of years back, and we levelled off.
Was I on that flight?
You were, and the flight attendant said to me, Mr. Stefanovic, would you like a drink? And I said, I would love a gin and tonic. And she said, sorry, Mr. Stefanovic, Mr. Wilkins has drunk all the gin and tonic. And I said, oh, really? What about a vodka and soda? And she said, I'm sorry, Mr. Stefanovic, Mr. Gudinski's drunk all of the vodka. But he was a force.
Well, they only had a couple of those little wee...
They were just the little ones.
A force even at 38,000 feet. And I loved being with him.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Well, you knew you were in the right place when Gudinski was there.
Beautiful
generous presence. And as he said, much love to his wife and to his children and grandchildren this morning.
Exactly.
Thank you, Dickie.
Thank you, Dickie.